Hey, this is David for Big Bits, and in this video we're going to discuss a project in crypto that's been getting a little bit of attention over the weekend. It's kind of gone through the car wash, as you might say, on crypto Twitter, and that is Lightnite. Now, what is Lightnite? All you really need to do is look at the headlines and it'll give you a good idea of what it is. Cointelegraph, they always have great articles, in my opinion, and they say Satoshi Games announced Lightnite, a Fortnite-like game with built-in Lightning Network microtransactions. Now, this has kind of been done before with other projects. I've seen them around where they're using other coins, but there is a bit of a novelty here, and the fact that it is using Bitcoin, and not just using Bitcoin, but using Bitcoin on the Lightning Network, which means nearly instant transactions. So if you're not familiar, Satoshi's Games has been around for a little while. They've been working on this project. I got to be honest, I've not really looked at Satoshi's Games before. I've seen them mentioned on Twitter and other sites before, but really going to take a fresh look at this. This is my really first time looking in detail at this. I've looked at the video and I've read some of the highlights of it, but let's take a look at this together because there's definitely a lot going on here. Of course, here is the article from Bitcoin Magazine, and you can see some of their visuals. They claim it's low poly, which you can see that because there's a lot of hard edges, which basically makes them look a little bit like Legos in a way. But the thing is, they're obviously targeting the Fortnite audience, which is absolutely huge, and the crypto audience together at the same time. But they're also going to go with the novel approach of using Lightning. And I say it's a novel approach because it really isn't done a lot. Now, if you go to the Satoshi Games website, which I did a little bit before this video, you'll notice they make a pretty big deal about using Bitcoin and Lightning there as well. So let's take a look at kind of how the game is meant to be. You can see, of course, it's just like Fortnite. Let's go to their website. Let me scroll back up to the top here. They have their wonderful landscape here. To me, it looks kind of cluttered, but I'm sure if you're in there playing, it's not too bad. But their big tagline here is earn Bitcoin playing Lightnite, their game. So they say it's a multiplayer battle royale game with a Bitcoin mode that rewards winners on top of a minimalist, low poly, and cartoonish design. It's certainly low poly and cartoonish. There are honestly a lot of games like this on mobile, if you notice, and I'm pretty sure when I went over this earlier, it said they had a mobile application. So keep that in mind. It may look kind of silly, but for a small studio, if you're wanting to support a video game on multiple platforms, including mobile, you probably want to go with something that's very easy for the applications to digest, and that would be perfect if people are into it. Myself, I don't really care for the low poly design, but there's also like 8-bit and other style characters and stuff from 2D games that I actually do kind of enjoy, so I can understand why people enjoy this sort of thing. Now, talking about a new level of interaction, I don't really know if it's a new level of interaction. It's a new level of interaction for video games in Bitcoin when you're talking about trying to make something popular. Now, there are already games that try to use the Lightning Network, but the reason I pointed out this project is because not a lot of them get this kind of media attention. And by media attention, I mean it's mostly just in crypto spaces right now, and I really haven't seen it outside of that, but it has gotten quite a bit of attention. I forget who it was, but I've seen several retweets of people saying that this is how you generate mass adoption for cryptocurrencies, and I kind of agree. I've always liked the idea of these games that pay out or use a virtual currency with very small amounts in order to do these things. Now, there's obviously some game design things you have to consider when you're thinking about these, like is it right to charge for microtransactions on certain things and not charge on others, and just kind of making sure you keep your customer base happy. But One thing you will note is they do have the ability for you to buy skins and in-game items using Bitcoin, which is kind of neat. It gives you a use case for actually having Bitcoin stored on their game besides playing. And you can see that it is, yes, it is meant for mobile. So it says bring your favorite cypherpunk battle royale game to mobile on iOS and Android. So yeah, it is going for mobile. It makes complete sense that they would have the low poly stuff, and it could be very big if they market it correctly. And I think they're off to a good start targeting the crypto scene. Now, low poly, we've already talked about that. These are just some more pictures of their art style. It's just low poly, and very cartoonish, somewhat like Fortnite in the sense that there's a lot of bright colors and things kind of stand out. A lot of the same lighting effects, silly uh, costumes and such. Okay, so we've kind of made it through their page, but we still really don't know a lot about it. So I went to their Medium and I checked out an article here, and they're going behind the scenes, kind of talking a little bit more in detail because I was kind of disappointed with the amount of detail I saw on their website. For them to be going through that car wash on the crypto media scene, they really don't have a lot of details about how things are going to work. And before I get into that, I wanted to skip ahead a long way here onto their roadmap. They started developing in June of 2019. They're doing crowdfunding starting now. That's probably why they're going through the crypto car wash. But early access will start in November of 2020. So it's about a year away from anyone being able to access it with early access, then a beta launch and a release in February of 2021. So we're quite a ways away from anything happening, so that might be why they're a bit scarce on details. But at least having a more well thought out and descriptive way to explain how the game would work would be great. So we're going to check out here and see if there's anything that isn't on their website, at least that was super easy for me to find. If it's not on your landing page, most people aren't going to bother to find it. So just keep that in mind if you're working on projects like that. Game features, they have two modes available, and I've already kind of discussed that they have a Bitcoin integrated mode and a non-Bitcoin integrated mode. With the Bitcoin integrated mode, you can connect your Bitcoin account with them. I believe it said you had to have a Lightning Enabled Bitcoin wallet to connect it and use the Lightning features. And to do that, when you enter the game, you will join other players online after making a microtransaction. Now, it says it's not pay to play, but if you have to put up money in a transaction first, it kind of sounds like pay to play. Even if they don't take your money, you still got to put it up on the table. It says the microtransaction only updates the balance of the player, who can then withdraw it back if he doesn't die before exiting the game. So if they do die during the game, do they get that back? It's kind of confusing there to me. Maybe I'm not the only one here. Um, I don't really understand how that's supposed to work and how that's not pay to play. I mean, if it's pay to play, it's fine if we're talking about, like half a penny per game or something really minuscule like that. But if we're talking, you have to do like a 50-cent transaction every time you want to play the game, and then maybe you'll get it back at the end of the game. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it also leads you to thinking, how do they fund this stuff? And it says every player has an in-game balance that increases in real time when he shoots other players or picks up valuable items, and decreases when he gets shot. Now, how do you fund that? How can you not have some sort of pay-to-play model here? You're either going to have to fund it with advertisements, which I haven't seen any word about yet, or you're going to have to fund it with the money you got up front from people paying for the game or doing the crowdfunding early on like they're trying to do. Or you take that microtransaction and the in-store or the in-game sales from the accessories, and you use that to fund the rewards. But then you would have to keep on top of the balance of what's available and what people are earning and receiving from the game itself. And there's a lot to keep up with if you were to do it like that. So to me, it would make sense actually if they did make you pay to play. That way, the rewards would be consistent and guaranteed every game. It it means that the top players, of course, would get rewarded, and then we would make money, but the bottom players would lose. So it's kind of bad for people who aren't good at video games, and if you want to play with the non-Bitcoin integrated mode and not try to win or lose money, then that would be an option. And like I said, I need a better description here of what a microtransaction being potentially refunded before the end of the game if they don't die. I need a better definition on what's going on here, because to me it doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, we'll move on from that. When we go on to the non-Bitcoin integrated mode, like I said, it's the same game, no microtransaction required to join the game. Use in-game points instead of Bitcoin. Now, you can also use fiat money, so it doesn't force you to use Bitcoin. So this is just another thing you need to take away. They are pitching this to a wide audience and not just people in the crypto area, in the crypto scene. They're wanting a large audience because they're wanting to make money. So to do that, they have to pitch it to regular folks who don't use crypto. And it makes complete sense, and you can't get mad at them. But it's kind of annoying when you're trying to reach the mass adoption, and they even mentioned that here. And your game is called Lightnite, completely branded after the Lightning Network and the capabilities that it offers, but yet you're still kind of hoping to get that fiat money. So I completely understand their position. It's just a little bit confusing as to why you would do that for probably a lot of people out there who are just looking at it and they're thinking, oh, look, a Lightning Network enabled game, and they go in there and like, why is it asking for, US dollars? Well, because they're trying to target more people than just you. Let's see. They say it's going to be available on Steam, itch.io, PlayStation, etc., and on Elixir, which that is their own game distribution platform. I checked that out briefly. Not terribly impressed with it, but it sounds like they're just getting started with that, so we'll check it out. I'm not sure we need another game distribution platform, but they're making a go for that as well. And who can blame them? If they're making the money, you might as well try. It seems to have worked out well for other companies like Riot Games, Blizzard, distributing their own games through those platforms. So it might be a model that other companies are looking to use as well. Now, they do have the crowdfunding campaign, and with that said, we've went through the Medium article, and let's actually take a look at all of their posts here. The other one is announcing the pre-order sale, and that really doesn't have a whole lot of information either. Oh, okay. There was a little bit more here. Every 9 months, a new season pass comes to the game with lots of missions, skins, and more items. Okay, so they're copying seasons from Fortnite. Now, the title alone made me think there was nothing in here, and I probably should have read more about it before I got into it. When did this one come out? October 21st? Okay, so this one is actually really new. It might not even been on here when I was looking at it earlier. But it mentions how they're building the game on top of a scarce asset, Bitcoin. And it's not entirely built on top of Bitcoin because they also offer the non-Bitcoin enabled mode. And they have scarcity within the items in the game. So that means, and I do recall reading something about this earlier, that some of the assets that they're working with are going to be limited in supply as well. So if you're wanting to buy a certain skin, there may only be 20 of those skins available for all of the users of the game. So if you want it, you need to act quickly and buy early on or pay a premium for it. Now, let's see if there's anything new in here that we haven't discussed. The gaming experience is more competitive and attractive. When they die in the Bitcoin game mode, the skins they bought stay on the ground of the game, and if no other users loot it up, they disappear, reducing the amount of a type of skin and creating a scarcity element within game assets collection and a more rewarding experience. Okay, so apparently if you bought a skin, you can lose it through the competitive play. This is something you'd see a lot in older style games. When you would die, you would leave items behind, and they were permanent items in the game, whereas with actual Fortnite, they're temporary. But there was an old game I used to play. This was called a drop pile or a death pile. When you would die, your character would drop items that were scarce resources in the game, and other players could come by and pick them up when you died. This is no different than that, but it does mean that those items are scarce and that they can be removed from the game. And back in the game I used to play, that was called a floor sweep, when the ground, all of the clutter, all the items on the ground was cleared by the server and the items were deleted, or at least made inaccessible for all future players. So let's see, you can see here's their example of using the wallet to connect, using funds, and now they talk about pre-ordering the game. Early access, now this is all covered in the crowdfunding. I'll go over that in just a moment. Frequently asked questions. This kind of has to do with your balances of your Satoshis on there, because there's a limit to how many you can withdraw. I believe it was 70,000 Satoshis is the most you can hold on there, something like that. It's pretty small numbers for the most part. When can I play the game if I don't participate in the pre-sale? Okay, public beta release 2020 Q1, Q2. Okay, and I haven't seen this before. This is the first time I've seen Windows and other desktop platforms listed as well. Although they did say Steam, they just didn't really specify earlier on which ones it was from what I've seen. So that's good to know. All right, let's check out their funding page lastly, and you can see what they're kind of looking for. This is early on. They've just started, so this is a decent start so far. They've went through a lot of marketing. You can tell just by looking at Twitter and other social media that they're already starting to market their crowdfunding. These are the different things you can get based on your contribution level. It's just like a Kickstarter. The first level is early access for $20 contribution or more, and there's only a certain number of spots in there, so 639 spots left there as of now. You can also get stickers, you can get t-shirts, you can get a poster, and if you're a major donor, you can access the development Discord channel and be a part of the development decisions like choosing in-game assets, skins, or ideas. Now, that being said, let's see if there's anything different here that wasn't in the other ones, other than just a pitch. Okay, let's look at the technology behind Lightnite. This says they are using the Lightning Network to integrate the Bitcoin microtransactions with Lightnite. The only thing players need to do is to download and use a wallet that supports the Lightning Network. Blue Wallet is the one they give an example of. And you send a small fraction of Bitcoin to that wallet and start sending and receiving Bitcoin over the Lightning Network while playing Lightnite. And then they go on to discuss again about the different modes and the distribution. Let's read this one. Lightnite is currently under heavy development, but once ready, it will be available on all the major game distribution platforms. And they list those again. However, the early access will be exclusively for the backers and supporters of this campaign, and the beta will be accessible through Elixir Gaming platform. Now, I had to zoom in to see this this crowdfunding site. The roadmap is awfully small. Okay. So you can see they started their game development. They're currently doing their crowdfunding. They will do early access when the minimum viable product is ready. Now, they do have some videos out there you'll see in the media packages, and you can see what it looks like. It's nothing too over the top impressive. It's really just those low poly figures running around shooting. The beta launch in 2021 and release in February of 2021. So that's a look at this one. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really needs to be covered for this. Maybe I should give my opinion on it. Uh, I think this is a very good project. As far as contributing, I can't say whether you should or shouldn't. I'm definitely not a financial advisor. But if you like this thing and you want to support Bitcoin, then maybe it's a good idea to consider it. They're obviously going to be drawing more attention. They're a somewhat established studio. They do have a website with some games. They're working on their own distribution platform. So it'll be interesting to see how much attention they get. Now, the timing on their roadmap with a lot of these things honestly works well with the expected changes coming up with Bitcoin, because there is a halvening next year. And it's expected that there will be a lot of media attention focused towards Bitcoin. So I could see this getting some decent attention, particularly if it works well with the Lightning Network, if the Lightning Network works well, and even more so if the Bitcoin network is congested with high fees. Because you'll be able to see a real example of a layer 2 solution like Lightning Network working to settle fees or to settle transactions for little to no fees for Bitcoin and have the Bitcoin actually change hands. So I think it's going to be very good for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. This isn't like an investment opportunity like an ICO or anything. This is literally just like a Kickstarter. You're contributing to their campaign to get this going. So if you put money in, don't really expect to get an investment amount back, at least from what I can tell here. So if you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to stick around and look at other cryptocurrency projects, or you are interested in some of my other videos, like I have a TradingView tutorial on creating your own indicators for trading, then subscribe and check out the channel. I would really appreciate it. But for now, that is all, and thank you, and have a good one.